recording me. And so as a result, people were kind of hesitant. They wouldn't spend much time with him. They kind of pushed him off, and which really lended itself to the issue with the challenges and anger. In school, he had challenges and almost, was ready to say forget it for school, and then got involved with sports, but just couldn't seem to connect the dots there. Struggled with friendships in the classroom, was introverted and quiet, and then ultimately ended up dealing with a lot of depression issues with depression, anxiety, and all of that. But something happened to this young man in the ninth grade where there was one person that said something to him that shifted the course of his life. He walked up to this young man and he said, "You know what? You're a Renaissance man. You're a Renaissance man." This young man was like, "What in the world is a Renaissance man?" And then he did his homework and found out that a Renaissance man was a person that was knowledgeable in a bunch of areas. And so it wasn't like that young man changed in that moment, but those words really rang true to him. But he went on and eventually went on. And by the time he had a senior in high school, things were getting better, became a first generation college graduate, and started shifting his life around. Things started to change. And so that young man just went on and made a few neat things happen to it in his life and ultimately started impacting a lot of people's lives. And my friends, I'm here to tell you that that young man is Daryl Coach D. Andrews. That's me. And I'm sharing that story because a lot of people think when they see me, oh, he's just motivational and he's just passionate and he can stand on a stage. They don't know what I was. They don't know what I was. They don't know my story. So what they do is they frame you on what they see, but not what you used to be. And I'm saying that to say this, my friends. That man's words changed my life. And then from then, other people, at that point, other people as well. And I'm here to tell you, you could be that person to a client that you're serving. Your words can literally transform the lives of a person, and you have no idea that you did it. That man had no idea his word did that to me. I never got a chance to go back and thank him. For my mother, it was Mr. Head in the workforce development program. I did get a chance to meet him, who told her, Connie, with this eighth grade education dropout, raising two boys and not knowing where the next meal was going to come from sometime, Connie, don't quit. Connie, those boys need you. Connie, fight through it. So much to the point my mom went back. She ended up getting her GED, landing a job with US Air, and our life changed forever. All right. So in the chat feature, I'm not here to do a motivational speech, but I do want to start us off with a foundation. Type in the chat feature, my words make a difference. Please type it in there right now. My words make a difference. Don't worry about if you don't see the fruit of it immediately. Don't worry about that. Drop it anyway. Let that person in front of you know, despite what may be going on, or if you're not directly client facing, working with your team, that, you know what, I believe in your potential. All right. And go down, we're going to jump in, but go down to the little heart emoji and you got to give a little heart emoji like that. See, those emojis are so cool now on Zoom. There we go. All right. So let's jump into this information. Please have a pen and a pad. And if possible, a journal, because we did talk about that. So what I'm going to do that's a little different is we're going to talk about some of the things we've always talked about, but I want us to take a different perspective. Because I think I may have mentioned to you all that years ago, we ran workforce development programs. Had a contract with Delaware County, Pennsylvania, and we had a contract with the state of Delaware. And in the state of Delaware, we had a contract to run a program by the name of HYPE, Helping Youth Pursue Excellence. And what I'm telling you today, all right, is really going to be rooted in what I share with my team when we were running our programs and how we were able to create a culture that produced amazing outcomes. Our HYPE program was a WIA funded program, and we had about 300 young people in that program. We could have had more because the youth were actually recruiting their friends, literally. And with that group, 35% were dropouts. Back then under WIA, you didn't have to work with that many. It was only 15%. It was 85% in school youth, 15% out. We had 35% out. And even with that, friends, 90% of those kids graduated. 90%. And then with our basic program, building and sustaining internal change, is differently structured to what you're doing there at Equus. It was a contract around job readiness and job placement with a focus on retention. And with the basic program, we had a 75% 2-year retention with the people that we placed because we stayed with them once they landed employment and just kept working with them. So I'm trying to say this, it's not just Coach D, a motivator, and all the stuff that people think of. It's really strategy and it's systems, you know what I mean, that help you produce these outcomes. All right. So y'all have to, let me stop this because I hear a little bit of something in the background. I'm going to mute all because I kind of hear just a little bit. And mute all, where are you? Right there. Because I think sometimes it slips through. Okay. All right, somebody tell me, before I go in, tell me something good just happened. What's going on good in your world? What happened good in the workplace? Any testimonials of something with a client or something? Anybody has anything they want to share? Because I like to hear the good news before I go
Angie
in.
her and I work in retention together, and
Mm-hmm.
she actually had a participant named Shelly that she's disabled. She was working part-time. We thought she was never going to be able to really success. Well, I can't say never, but we were concerned due to her health concerns and her condition that she was never going to be able to work full time and really complete retention and meet placement.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually met placement and she was termed successfully. So that's like a really awesome story. And she got full time working. So
Mm.
I
Come
had to
on,
share
y'all. Show some love. Get the little heart emoji. Come on, there it is again. There it is. There's that heart emoji. I like the heart emoji the most, especially the floating ones. Thank you for that. That's awesome. Look at her giving you props, Angie. See that? You see that? Look at she giving you props. That's teamwork that makes the dream work right there. Let me tell you something. That's what it's all about. Remember when I said about 4 months ago in our coaching session, focus on the what? Anybody remember? Starts with a W. It has an I in there.
Why?
It has an N,
Oh,
A W, an I, an N. Focus on the what? I just spelled it.
when?
The
Focus on the
wind.
wins.
You didn't say
Focus.
the E.
I was like, this is the trick question. This is the trick question.
You would think I'll put an E on it. Focus on the wine. Focus on the wins. Because the wins. Listen, remember I said this quote? You could be winning and think you're losing if you're not keeping the score. You gotta sometimes this is why I said, remember for a while I had y'all send me a weekly win. You're all really good at it. Angie, I think you sent some. Chelsea sent some. Catherine, you sent some messages and there was win related. I mean, it's just good. Janae, I know you sent. So just focus because what we're talking about is paradigms. And if we're always just focusing on the challenges, then the challenges now become the mindset. But when we see the wins, then everything changes because it's like, okay, I'm gonna have challenges, but listen, I hit a couple of jumpers this week. I scored a few touchdowns this week. Then you can feel more excited about what you're doing.
Well, and
Okay.
wins could be with coworkers too,
That's what
like
I'm saying.
we're all a
Absolutely.
team. So
Absolutely. And a matter of fact, that's what we were talking about. Because keep in mind, teamwork is a part of our framework, and seeing the good, like you just acknowledge your coworker, and that's kind of stuff helps too. you know? And so just really those wins, man, because in this industry, compassion fatigue, all those things could be major issues if we're not focusing in on our successes,
mhm.
and you start realizing how powerful it is when you start to realize, hey, I have not had a bad week this week. Because our way our minds are wired, we have a natural affinity towards the other things that happen, and we can focus a lot on the negatives. I used to do this exercise years ago where I would start off and ask people to tell me three things positive about yourself. Most folks took an hour to pull that stuff up.
Mhm.
But then I would say, tell me two things negative about yourself. Boom, just like that. They're coming out. And I said, man, why is it that people spend so much time on the negative? Because that's what's illuminated. And so what we try to do in our programs and when we ran our workforce program and now as a consultant in this industry and doing this stuff is let's focus on victories. Deal with the situations because they're going to be there, but focus on the victories because what I want to do is I want you to be stronger. I want you to be more empowered. And it's hard to do that from constantly thinking about the negative, constantly. Okay? And so you got this. You know what I'm saying? Coach, much love, y'all. Much love. We got this. Got this. Yeah, peace. Rachel, I'm a little bit on the hokey side sometimes, so I try. So I want you to know who you are. Let's talk about a few things real quick. Right, this is a powerful quote. When there is hope for the future, there is power in the present. Don't forget that. You see, workforce development is not always about the moment. It's about the future. Person comes in, they don't have a job. You know what I mean? Getting public assistance. That's where we are. That's the reality of the moment. But then you see this person get a job, get an apartment, buy a car. That's the future. But you and I don't realize that future started when we first started working with them. The future just didn't show up. It's the support, as Chelsea said, the encouraging each other as a team, handing people off to folks, to the job developers, and this person doing their job. So it's like that teamwork thing. So this is why I always say, friends, that we got to understand that workforce development is a future-driven industry. We don't think about that much. It's not a momentary industry. Because if that's the case, it would just be frustrating all the time because you got folks coming in and situations and all that. So let's keep our eyes on it. And this is just a quote that I want to share with you. And then the ability to impact the lives of the clients we serve starts on the inside, not the outside. Please don't forget that. See, the potential that I see in the clients I serve, the potential I see in working with teams like yours is I don't look where we are, I look at where we're going. I never do. I don't hold on to things. I don't think about what I think about is how do we get from A to Z? Because right now we're at A. So, friends, let me say this to you because I've shared this for many times. This is not just a client statement. This is a life statement. It doesn't matter what it is in life we want to do. It starts on the inside. If we don't get it on the inside, it's very rarely going to ever manifest on the outside. That Daryl that you saw, I told you about. Thank you, Richard, for that. That Daryl, he wouldn't be smiling right now. He wouldn't be laughing. He'd be angry. They're like, why y'all have me here? That's Daryl. But this Daryl today finds just a joy and a pleasure to do this work. I know in helping you, I'm going to help thousands of people, hundreds of people in the Harrisburg and in York and Chambersburg, all those areas. I know indirectly I get to have a little joy in seeing you do it because guess what? I feel like I'm sowing into you. But that wouldn't have been me 15, 20 years ago. So I want to let you know, we got to realize these clients, our ability to impact them and change and shift their lives, it starts on the inside. That man worked on my inside. And that's why I'm here today doing this. So it goes back to this statement here, it's impossible to see the picture when you're in the frame. We talked about that. Over the past 12 months, I hope to spend a few hours per month looking at the beauty of the picture. That was my thing. Like, what are we doing? How are we managing our days? How are we doing our case note? How are we? It's just really look at the picture. The picture, that's all. Because in the frame, you can't see it. And so when you step out, you look in and say, okay, I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I could be better at this. I could be better at that. But the picture ain't bad. That's a good looking picture. That's what I want y'all to have, own this thing. Listen, when doing so, don't forget this, you're better positioned to see the potential in the clients. Now you can walk in with a smile on your face, no matter what hits you. You're good. You know what I'm saying? Because you now position yourself. Like, I'm gonna tell you something. This is really important. And it's something, it's something, I tell people things, I say, please, I hope you don't think coach is crazy. But I speak to Coach D every morning. I do. I look in that mirror and I say, D, you're going to have a great day today. D, you're going to impact lives today. D, no matter what happens, I don't care if a person gets angry at you, if a person doesn't like anything, it doesn't even matter. You're going to give it your best. Then I do my little workouts. I'm in the gym every day, y'all, still kicking it at my age. Do my walk, do my prayer, do all the things I got to do, and then I get busy. Why? I am programming myself to be able to be a person of influence in the work that I do. And I can't do that if I don't put these things to the top. If I don't work on this, I just want to be that little boy. Chelsea, that's one of my favorite shows. I just caught that. Facing the Giants is that's a life lesson. Those guys write a lot of good movies. Matter of fact, that last movie they wrote was a good one. It's a less life lesson as well.
Yes,
All right.
they're all really good. They're
What
amazing.
was the last one again? This one he just recently did with a young boy that he mentored. I can't remember the name of that one. That was really good
I
too.
can't either. I know there's Courageous. I know there's
Yeah.
Facing the Giants.
Face the Giants is a classic, but this last one, The Forge.
Yes, yep.
Forge. Yeah, that's a good one. And so what I'm saying is life lessons in their movies always. Yep. And so we only have 45 minutes for these coaching sessions. So let me dive into a few things. I want you to understand, keep journaling. That's going to be one of the things we're going to talk about, because you want to keep a track record of your activity. You want to look back and say, hey, 3 weeks ago, Sandy Jones came in, didn't know what she was going to do. And 3 weeks later, Sandy Jones is rocking. See, that way now you can look at the track record. Now, I know you got to take case notes. This is not case notes. This is yours. This is for you, And so that's why from the beginning, we always said, journal these activities. It's really important. So, all right, everybody just smile at me and say, okay, Coach D's not weird. I want y'all to think I'm not weird, okay? Come on, give me a smile so I can know that y'all thinking that, at least. All right, thank you. Thank you, Catherine. I see you smile. All right, because what I'm about to say to you is going to be a little bit weird, okay? But you got to roll with me, because guess what Coach D is getting? I'm getting certified in neurosciences. Woo! Man, this thing is taking me back to school. I'm telling you, it's work. I didn't know the brain was so complex. Anybody else ever take not a course, but study neuroplasticity and all that stuff? Anybody familiar with that stuff? What do you know about it, Angie? I'm just curious. What's your knowledge?
Not a whole lot, but I do have some knowledge.
It's intense though. It's intense.
Absolutely.
It's intense. So I'm gonna share. The reason why I'm saying I'm gonna share one thing with you, because I'm a big fan of mindset. This is a great book. If you've not read it, it's one of the best. Because Dr. Carol Dweck talks about fixed mindset and growth mindset. And she said, and I've seen this in organizations I worked with over the years, the fixed mindset is we ain't gonna never change. This is just who we are. And they abhor change. Somebody even try to change, they won't fight it. No, that's who we are. But the growth mindset is bring on innovation. I'm willing to try some new stuff. You see, I am truly, besides that man, a byproduct of listening to people and being stretched. I told my team when I ran my workforce programs, I love you all. I may stretch you a little bit, but I do it out of love. I want to see you be your best. When I first started my team, most of those folks, some of them had college degrees, some of them didn't. Everybody had a college degree by the time we started doing those programs. Because I said to them, I said, you know what, we're gonna take this together. We're gonna do it. And a lot of that starts with mindset. And so this book, I'm gonna give you 2 books that are good reads, and I would encourage you. You can do it on Audible. You only have to read it, just listen to it while you're driving in your car. But this book will change you right here. All right. Especially when it just talks about growth mindset. So let's look at this one here. All right. Think deep. Here we go. Oh Lord, here's the part that I get weird on y'all. All right. The brain is like a computer. Okay. It is activated by programming. Now, this is what this class is wearing me out, because this is taking a whole lifetime of knowledge and throwing it out the door. Your brain only does what your mind tells it to do. I'm going to give you a perfect example. You ready for this? when kids are little, they can't walk. Now their bodies have to be developed as well, but you know what else has to be developed? Their brains. So what do we do when we have little kids? They can't walk. We stand them up. You go to one end, and if you're with somebody in a relationship, or if you're not, you got somebody there, and you put them down and say, okay, go to so-and-so. Come on, y'all. You know what I'm talking about. And then they wobble, they stumble, and they this and that. And if they get to the other person, you hug them and you celebrate. Oh, that was so awesome. You walk 5 inches. What are they doing? Their mind is programming their brain that I can walk, I can do this. See, the brain, well, like my hands, my mind is telling my brain to move my hands. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm learning this in neuroscience. All right. And so what I'm trying to tell y'all is this: if the brain is a computer and our mind is what activates it, we can't control the brain, but we can control the mind. What I mean by that is the brain is just going to do what you tell it to do. The mind is what does it. So again, please don't think I'm spooky. Don't shoot I'm studying this and say, oh my God, I just learned something totally new. I've been blaming stuff on my brain, which is really my mind and what I'm thinking and what I'm depositing in there. You know, when I was younger, I said, I'm going to be the first person in my family to go to college. You know what I said? I'm going to be the first person in my family to go to college. I'm going to be the first person to go to my family. Even some of my family members said, boy, shut up. You ain't going to college. I had family members tell me that. I'm going to college. And guess what? I was the first person in my family to go to college. First person to get a college degree. Why? Activated. I programmed it. I said that thing so many times that I believed it. You see? And so our clients in the same boat and we're in the same boat. And so we got to understand that, you know, and somebody said it, and I can't remember who it was in the last call that actually did some of this. I think it was Melissa that studied this a little bit. It was talking about this mind is really, this brain is really here to serve whatever it is we wanted to give it. So that's why you've heard me say things like affirmations and all these things over and over again, because what we're doing is we're trying to get ourselves to be in a position, please understand this, and write this in your notes, be in a position of power. And what I mean by being in a position of power is not that you're having power over your clients, but you're having power over the situation. What does that mean? Talk to me real quick. What does it mean to have power over the situation? Talk to me. Let's say a client walks in with a bad attitude.
You take control of the situation and help them steer towards excellence.
Boom. Okay, Chelsea, but how are we doing that? By what?
We're doing that by our mindset reflecting onto theirs.
You know, that's why you were my favorites.
I'll remember that.
Y'all my favorites, but you know, when somebody answers, I always say that anyway. But you know what? You're right. See, and remember I said empowerment, don't ever forget this quote. See, I give you a lot of stuff, but you got to take notes to remember it. Empowerment is taking what's inside of you and getting about another person and getting them to believe it. You see it, they don't. So what we're doing is, you see, we're not programming his mind. That's activating our belief in that person. Our thoughts, our will, and our emotions are in believing that that person could maximize their potential. But then it also is believing that I can do it. When those people used to come together, I would meet with all those directors, all these different workforce programs, and they came in. We have all these little state meetings in Delaware, and everybody complaining. And they knew what they say about me. Well, here comes Mr. Optimistic. You know, here he comes. What you got positive to say today? I said, well, what about you? Mean either is it a 90% graduation rate of my hype students, or is it 75% retention rate of all the people that we serve that are going in the job market? What do you talk? Which one you want me to talk about? Then it get quiet. I wasn't bragging. I was telling them that we use optimism as a tool for transformation. That doesn't mean that pessimism is not going to be around, but we use it. So if I go into those big meetings and everybody complaining and I'm joining them, I ain't no better than them. Those clients deserve better than that. They don't deserve me going to some meeting talking about them and then coming back and acting like I care. No, we gotta have our words match our beliefs. And so, so we did it. So we need to work on our mindset. Please write that down. I have to work on my mindset. And this is really, I can't say overall, but we got to work on our mindset. How are we going to serve these clients? How am I interact with my peers? Because guess what? Our peers deal with stuff just like the clients do. All of us have stuff. Somebody mentioned that a little bit earlier. We all got stuff. None of us are perfect. I told my wife I'm probably pretty close to it though. And she said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Yeah, I'm about as close to perfect as you've ever seen in your life." That's the kind of stuff you can say to your wife though, if you want to. So our clients and teammates need us to show up daily. I told my team, I said, you know what? If you got something to get off your chest, come to my office and get it off. Blow it up, man. Talk, get it out, and then go back out and serve. Don't give them that. I'll take it because I know we're human. We got it. But if you got something on your chest you need to talk about, let's talk about it. But when you go back out there, be your best. Because we're setting the example for what we want them to see. Let me go on to a few more things. So the areas of impact we want to talk about is using, we talk about emotional intelligence as a tool for work-based transportation, and then seeing clients through the eyes of potential, and then self-care. I want to talk about these three things real quick. Get ready to take some quick notes. These are just quick nuggets because I want you to focus on this. I know, Rachel, self-care is something that you just talked about. It's really important, and it is. And I appreciate you for that. Please write down this statement. Self-care is a precursor to wellness. Don't ever forget it. If you want to attribute any of my style, any of my energy to how I got there, is through two things: prayer and self-care. I'm just letting you know. Bruh take care of himself. I know, I'm speaking to y'all like, but that's how I roll though. I take care of myself. I did 2 miles this morning. I went in the gym for 45 minutes. I'm fasting to 2 o'clock. I do intermittent fasting. I live in Florida. We got up in Delaware between the two. I'm in Florida now. I went to the beach yesterday, walked through that water. I didn't go to the beach like a vacation. I just went up there and walked through the water for about 30 minutes and went back home. You see, now when in Delaware, I can't do that, but here I can. So what I'm saying is I do that because I need to be mentally stable. I need neuroplasticity. I need to be able to, stretch my thinking. And self-care is one way to go about doing that. Now, we don't have enough time to go into all the self-care components. We did a class on self-care, and I put the video up. But I want you to understand how important this is. Here I'm speaking 8,000 Walmart senior executives about the same thing. You know what I mean? I don't do a lot of corporate stuff, but they didn't want to leave the room. They just didn't want to leave because they said, nobody ever talks about this stuff here. Always about burn, go, go, go. I'll say, yeah, then you're going to be unhealthy.
Hey, Coach,
I have
Catherine
a
has a
quick
question. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
go.
Go ahead, dear.
Oh, okay,
Thank you, Chelsea, because I didn't want to interrupt.
we got the wheels turning. Go right ahead, young lady.
So, when you're talking about the brain and like programming it, how long? You know how some people say 30. Yeah.
Hey, I saw that.
You
I
know
saw
how
her.
some people say like it takes 30 days or however
Yep.
many days. How many days or months do you think it takes to program your brain when it comes to anything, whether it's like self-care, working out, praying?
Yep. It's so interesting you asked me that because if you would have asked me that 3 weeks ago, I would have said 21 days, like you just alluded to. But I listened to this neuroscientist, and she said until you get to the point where you naturally do it. You don't have to think about it anymore. So
Okay.
she didn't put a time to it. She said for some people that could be 21 days, some people that could be 6 months,
Mm.
some people that can hear. But her thing was simply this, Catherine, that's a beautiful question, consistency. See, I wake up at 5:30 every morning, not because I need an alarm clock. I don't even use an alarm clock. I'm just wired to get down to that gym, get my workout in, get my prayer in. I've not used an alarm clock in 10 years. I don't have to. Why? Please write the statement down. It went from what I do to who I am. And that's the goal, Catherine. It has to go from what I do to who I am. And you are the one that ultimately, when you can get to the point, Catherine, where you don't even have to think about it anymore, you just naturally do it, that's when you arrive. Now, I like the 21 days because that's a challenge. You know what I mean? That gives me time to just say, okay, for the next 21 days, I'm going to do this. But at the end of 21 days, you want to make sure, again, you're journaling, you're planning, and you're ultimately trying to get this from what I do to who I am. Boy, when you get to that point, that's why people say, like I said, I'm not Mr. Optimistic. I just program myself not to be pessimistic. Pessimism jumps in my mind all the time. It just don't win, you know, because, it just doesn't win because Angie, because why is that? Because my response is what? Chelsea, my response.
My responsibility.
Come on,
Yeah, I
Janae.
was just about to say it's our responsibility.
Janae, remember who said that?
Janae said it first.
I
Yeah.
know Pierre says that. That's right. Pierre Campbell. That's it. My response is my responsibility. Yep, that's absolutely the truth. So with self-care, we got to understand the better we take care of ourselves, the easier it is to deal with challenging situations. Got that? See, that's why self-care is so important because if not, burnout wins. And we don't want burnout to own us. All right? We got to deal with it. And burnout is just a byproduct of stressful situations happening over and over and over again. Listen to me, to when it becomes normalized to be burnt out, be stressed. We don't want stress to be normalized. All right? We don't want that. We're going to have stress. All of us will. But what we want is systems that have been put in place to handle them. I remember my mother we had so many challenging situations as a kid. I mean, we lived with everybody, my grandmother and my cousins, and we were always, in situations, but I never saw my mom lose her. She just always had her head on straight. And then when she got into that workforce program, that's when everything changed, you know? And I'm grateful that I had that example. And so she was always about breathing and taking care of herself anyways. I learned self-care as a kid through the example that I saw in my mother. But let me give you a few things because we only got a few moments left. Control burnout. Here's one thing I want you to do. Please journal your activities. Look at the wins. During the day, take mental health breaks, a minute just to breathe. They said if you do 5 minutes of deep breathing any given day, you can control your stress by 70%. You can decrease it. Just 5 minutes, breathing in, breathing out. People think all that meditation and stuff is crazy. It's not. It works. Take a break during lunch break, breathe. Get all that anxiety out of you. Rest. There's other things that, like when we teach self-care, and I have the book, The Self-Care Journal. When we teach on self-care, we talk about the multiple areas. Yep. Yeah, there you go. You hang in there, Janae. I saw your comment in the chat feature. It's gonna be all right. We all need that, my friend. And so just breathe. Don't let your mind take you on a journey. Remember, and I'm gonna tell you something in just a moment it's gonna be incredible to see this. All right. And so control burnout, journal your activities, take regular mental breaks by pausing and breathing. Get a journal and journal your activities. The second thing I want you to talk about, this is the part I mentioned I want you to get that I said I'm going to share in a few moments, is emotional intelligence. Dr. Daniel Goleman says this: EQ is more important than IQ. Write that down. Emotional quotient is more important than IQ. And I wish I had time to break this down for you, but I'm going to give you two things to think about in this coaching session. Okay. Number one is, please Google this, search it, whatever. Learn these two things: self-regulation and self-awareness. Those are things that are two of his components of self-care, of emotional intelligence. He has 5 areas: motivation, social. It's like this that he has in there. But these two, all right, he would even agree, are the two most important ones. Self-regulation, and they already said it. My response is my responsibility. My statement is, I said this before Pierre starts saying that, and that is, not tell Pierre, he doing too good a job coaching y'all. Everybody, like I said, I gotta get on that. So you all doing me, man. But that's my dude. My thing is always, you can't control what a person is gonna say or do, but you can control your response to it. That's self-regulation. All right. You know, Rachel, what would your thoughts be on that? I just want to curious. Like when you hear the controlling your response to situations, what would you say? What would you think? Just want to hear your thoughts.
I have a lot of thoughts around that. I
Hmm.
think as we grow in our careers, we also have to develop our character, right? And with that means that we have to be able to control our responses to situation, not taking things personal. You know, you used the example earlier when somebody walks in and, you know, they're not having the best day. That doesn't mean that it's a reflection on us and it doesn't mean that it's an issue with us. It just means something happened to that person before they walked in those doors.
Bingo. Hmm. That's
And
it.
so how
Hmm.
we greet them matters, and that will control their response to you. They still might be negative, but
Hmm.
there's times where, in my experience, I'm working with someone and they're coming off really strong, and I continue to maintain being myself, and then they apologize and they're like, "I'm sorry, it's not you. I'm just dealing with A, B, C, and D." And if
Hmm.
we continue to show up and support these individuals, they then learn that you're there to support them.
Boom, bing. And now, you know what you call that, friends? Now it's called you're building a relationship. You know what I mean? You're taking the time to slowly connect with them. Then they start to see you from a different perspective. You go from this person that they're going to see to a trusted confidant. And that's ultimately the goal. And that's when your words start having power. But self-regulation can help with that. Thank you for that, Rachel. Appreciate it. You know, and then the next one is really big. Self-awareness. I teach this one to leaders a lot. And what I tell leaders, let me go back. I'm sorry. I don't know why that went that way. Let me see. All right. Well, I'll just talk about it. Um, the self-awareness is really about understanding my moods and my impulses and their impact on other people. So sometimes people are fully unaware of the fact that you wearing folks out. You stressing people. You anybody know something? I know we're about to wrap this up. Anybody know anybody that like you just find like they always in a state of anxiety, always in a state of stress. And then when you get around them, you know, here it comes. That person is not self-aware. They're not. And they'll fault you. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, it was funny. Bridget said in the last one, you know, that people, when you bring it to your attention, then you become the enemy. Because the reality is people got to recognize these things. We're going to talk about that in a moment. You know, so self-awareness, please look it up. And I want you to work on those two things and email me. You know, got my email, info@coachdSpeaks.com. What you've done, one for self-care and what you were doing for this whole thing about emotional intelligence. One little thing, a blurb, nothing major. Just want to make sure that you're implementing this stuff because it works. Trust me. I just told you what happened with our program. We worked on this stuff all the time, all the time. All right. So lastly is seeing clients out of potential reframing. I only got a few minutes left, but understand reframing is not that the situation has changed. It's just that I see it differently. It is the power behind, I'm telling you, it's such a powerful tool behind transformation in anybody's life. All of us have testimonies of things we've had to overcome. Every life serves a challenge is not necessarily the bad worst thing in the world. It's a story that I'm going to be sharing later when I overcome it. We got clients that I work with. I'm telling you, it's just we had, you know, this young man named Corey. Here's one of them. You know, I work with this kid had within our workforce youth program. This guy had all kinds of problems, kicked out of school and everything else. But we worked with that boy, had in our summer youth program, and I mentored him personally. He got him back in school in his first marking period. He gets 3.75 grade point average. He said, I didn't even know I was smart. Now, as a father, kids, why? That one person, and we reframed the way we saw him. You see, his grandmother was so grateful because she's the one that brought him into the program to work with us. And I said, you know what? We saw potential. And I want y'all to understand how important that is. So with the client mindset, think about this is, again, I only got a minute left, but trauma-informed care is something to study. And because I want you to know this, a lot of people are here dealing with trauma and don't even know it. So trauma-informed care, this is last statement I'll say about this, but I want you to think about using this. It's simple what I'm gonna share, and you can use it immediately because it's not complex. Trauma-informed care is going from why are you acting that way to what happened to cause that person to act that way. Don't ever forget that. Nobody ever acts that way because they want to. Something caused them to. And as a professional, when I recognize that, it changes the landscape of how I deal with people, how I work with my coworkers, how I work with family members. Most battles in family ain't nothing but trauma responses. Husband and wife sometimes have battles for years because of something that happened when they were kids that were never dealt with. I want it this way, you want it that way. Now we're both stuck in the middle.
Coach,
You gotta-
that's like really true. My dad
Mhm.
always told me growing up that, he told me to meet people where they are
Bingo.
and pull them out of it. And
Mhm.
that helps not only them, but helps you. So I feel like that's really important I always say, like, meet them where they are, not where you are.
Bingo. Because where you are, thank you, Chelsea, and where they are two polar opposites. You didn't have their experiences and they didn't have yours. And so a lot of times when people are showing up angry, something may have just happened to them 5 minutes ago. Something may have happened when they were a little kid. They're dealing with some type of trauma. So again, everything I'm pushing towards professionalism. As a professional, I'm aware of this. And so when I'm interacting, I can interact from this position. Or as you remember us saying before, as a team, let each other know there may be times you need some help from somebody. You can't always have to do it alone. And so you all know about that one for previous trainings. So the client mindset piece, and that's why all of them have mindset. If you're the emotional intelligence mindset, self-care mindset, what I mean is understand that you need to take some time to do some self-care. You don't have to do a lot, just a little. Breathe throughout the day. Emotional intelligence mindset, look, study, please, self-regulation and self-awareness. And with the client reframing, think about trauma-informed care. What's nice out there now is all this stuff is free. There's so much stuff online. You can study this. And then when you have team meetings, you can talk about, maybe take a topic and talk about how you're doing with trauma-informed care, how you're doing with emotional intelligence, and the people can share what they're doing well or where I'm struggling. So I am 2 minutes over. I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm a military mindset, even though I've never been in the military. But let's do this. Give me 1 more minute and please type in the chat feature one thing you're going to do. And then your assignment moving forward is I want you to email me. I'm going to do video. I'm going to send this videotape over. So you'll all have it. One thing you're going to do for the self-care piece, even breathing throughout the day, one thing you're going to do with the emotional intelligence piece, you may just focus on self-awareness or self-regulation, be one at a time. And in trauma-informed care, what am I doing to reframe the way I interact with clients? That's how you deal with difficult clients. I just shared one with this young man, Corey. He didn't want to talk to nobody, angry all the time. Now the dude called me about 3 years ago, telling me he want to take me out to dinner. And I told him, I know a very expensive restaurant in Philadelphia. Dude, you ain't going cheap on me. We worked hard, brother. And but one thing in the chat, just in the chat feature, one thing you learned today. All right, let me see. I got a few folks. Okay. Oh, I love this. Okay. Oh, way to go, Chelsea. Look at that. Yeah. Right. Yeah, take a break. Come on, y'all. Give me a couple things. Okay. Breathing exercises, self-care. Good. Come on. Can I get one more? I love this. Be more. You can save this chat feature. If you go up to those 3 buttons, you can save it too. That way you can look at the commitment you made. So it's right there. All right. Put yourself, self-care. Definitely. That's important today. All right. So you can't be better to anyone else if you're not. So anyway, thank y'all so much. I went a little bit over my time, but we got this. Y'all good? Throw me some high fives. Come on, man. I'm on the team. You know what I mean?
Thanks,
Come on. Yeah.
Coach.
Yeah. Thank y'all so much. And Rachel, we'll follow up with the video and all that and follow up, just do a little debrief. But thank y'all. You guys are listening. Y'all like family to me. I've known you for a year now. And what I like, and Rachel, I just want to say this in front of you. What I like is you guys, I've never heard anybody in this team complain about the team, complain about the organization. I've seen that 1,000 times in other locations. I've never seen it here. And they're all really working their hardest to be the best that they can be. And I'm proud of y'all for that. All right. So thank you. And follow up with the information. We have one more session, but just keep sending me emails if you have any questions and things of that nature. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.